welcome back to LinkedIn Logs, the jobs podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, that's a website. Go there. 66, episode 66. We're 66 episodes in. I've done the constitutionals for roughly, almost 400 episodes. I've done Late Night Lately for 50 some odd episodes. And I had a couple of podcasts before all three of these shows that are on concurrently at this point in time. Why is it every single time I mess up the intro to one or all three of the currently running shows? I don't know. I'm a professional. I tell you that much. I'm a professional. Welcome back in. If you're watching the video, I am wearing a very wrinkly button-up shirt. I said, why not wear something other than a t-shirt? Not a Z shirt. It's an SNL reference. Check it out. SNL. I think you've heard of it. It's been around for 50 years. What's been going on? Did I talk about that interview I had? Oh, yes, I did. I talked about the interview I had with that company, that news organization that I'd been interviewed at no less than now 4 times. And I have yet to hear back. They said on Wednesday, they've dropped the ball if I don't hear back. So I got to say something. Which means today, if I don't hear anything, I'm sending an email tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be good news though. Secondly, today is my first day. If you also listen to the last episode, I have a real bad taste in my mouth. I just sucked down like so much coffee, and then I put the cup away. I drink coffee out of a glass. And then piping hot, I poured in my nice glass. And ow. And then I had some water. But the coffee is so I like the dark roast coffee. So the coffee is so dark roast, all I have is just bad coffee taste in my mouth. I'll get through it. 30 minutes. Today is my first official day as a contributor for this other website where I am a contractor. We had a kickoff call yesterday. Me and one of the, I think she's an editor, and someone else who was hired as well. And it's truly, sincerely, just throw into the deep end. And that's what I like that. I enjoy that. I like to be thrown in the deep. I like that. Makes me feel good. I don't want someone breathing down my neck as other jobs have been. CNN. I really did have to clear my throat at that point. It is fascinating too when you start a position. How do you want that done? Because how do you want to be? There's always those questions. Sometimes you have interviews. I haven't had interviews in a very long time, but sometimes you have interviews where people where the person interviewing you goes, what do you want in a boss? Or like some giant broad question like that. And the only thing I can say is like, I just want somebody who is good at what they do. Not anybody who posts on friggin' LinkedIn all the time. And just saying. Today is that first day. I already have a story in mind for something I'm going to write. You know, I don't know if this existed 10 years ago, but I think I should make a muck rack. Just so I can have a place that's not chadcwhite.com or cpluscomedy.com where things have been written. Because sometimes you apply to these writing jobs and they want you to show where you've written things, and then you're like, well, I've written it on my website, and they go, well, that doesn't count. And it should count. As long as it's not a friggin' blog, not janie.blogspot.com. All right, let's hop into this. This first story comes from the New York Times, written by Danielle K. Starbucks to lay off 1,100 corporate employees amid sluggish sales. The job cuts hit about 7% of the chain's non-retail staff. They're part of the new chief executive's plan to win back customers. I believe the letter was sent to workers, on Monday. But today, Tuesday, the day of this recording, the day that this episode comes out, the people will be let go. And that was according to, I think, CNN from this morning. But today's the day where people are actually being notified when they're being let go. There's also something happening globally. The prices increased. I'm not quoting CNN. I'm quoting CBS Mornings because Tony DeCopel talked to their money person over there at CBS Mornings about that this morning. But I also know that there are coffee issues going around the world where coffee beans have, because of the climate, the price of coffee beans itself has gone up, which means on top of the prices that Starbucks is already charging, they also had to, throw in, I think, a 23% growth charge for what they charge for $8 lattes. And there's also long wait times, which also factored in this. So Brian Niccol took over as chief executive last fall, has decided, he and his team, not just him, they're going to drop several of the drinks that they have available and try to woo back customers. You might ask, how does dropping 7 or 8 of the drinks, how does dropping a white mocha frappuccino or a white hot chocolate or whatever is going, or espresso frappuccino, two of those is real. 2 of those are real, rather. And I don't know which one because I remember that from the CBS Mornings. But you might ask, how does dropping those save the company, or help us save the company? At some point, I'm just going to drop dead. It won't. Think about it in terms of the wait times. Some of those are probably hard drinks to make, or complex drinks to make. Others probably weren't selling as much. Mr. Niccol said in the letter that I mentioned before to the workers that they're aimed at allowing the layoffs are aimed at allowing Starbucks to, quote, operate more efficiently and reduce complexity. Hey, look at that. I didn't even have to read that. The company has 16,000 employees who work outside company-owned stores. Baristas are not included in that number. Starbucks had indicated in January that it planned to cut corporate jobs. Shares of Starbucks rose more than 1%. The in-store experience is being rethunk by Mr. Nichols. They're trying to make it better for customers and streamline the experience. Streamline the business. That also includes a couple of months ago they decided you have to buy something if you want to use the bathroom. No more freeloaders walking in using the bathrooms. He wants changes to the mobile ordering systems to address surges in orders, which happens. When I was at Starbucks at CNN Center several years ago, we were busy all the time, but there would be points, especially during lunchtime, or if you were there during breakfast, the breakfast hours, there would just be a surge of people, and because it was CNN Center, there were also field trips, and you would just see little children run up. I want a frappuccino. Paying coins, which I always thought was funny. I was never mad at kids because I was one of them at some point. Not buying Starbucks because I don't think Starbucks existed as widely as it does now. I was paying for things in coins. And it was also when I made a nun laugh. I made a nun just crack up. Her habit was shaking left and right. Now, speaking of layoffs, this comes from Reuters, written by Yadarisa Shabong and Shashwat Aswathi. Manchester United to cut jobs, bonuses, and free lunches to restore profits. Here's a little side tangent. To find stories for this show in particular, because I can find stories for Late Night Lately, I can find stories for the Constitutionals, and no problems with that. To find stories for this show in particular, I watch a lot of news, which has been my MO from the day I was hired at NBC, 11 Alive News. 2, now I go to Bing, I go to Google, and I type in jobs and job news, and I go to the news section. For Google, it will take you to the Google News section, and then they'll have links, and they'll link out to the source. Okay, for Bing News, it'll say, "Hey, this was written on Reuters by Reuters authors," but it'll link to MSN. And I'll show a story on MSN.com. And that is very skeevy. I do not appreciate that. Let me link to Reuters. And by the way, I couldn't find a link to Reuters or CNN or whatever I was trying to find, whatever I found on Bing. Couldn't find a link to it to save the life of me. It was always MSN.com. And then it would have like a little, it was written on Reuters, written on CNN. No, I want to give them the credit. I want to give the sources the credit. I don't want to give you, MSN, the credit. It's ridiculous. Manchester United will cut around 150 to 200 more jobs as part of an overhaul to return to profitability after 5 years of losses, the Premier League soccer club said on Monday. It's interesting. I would think that Man U is one of the most popular soccer teams in the world. You know, you would think that, first of all, they're a public company and they're trading, which is crazy to say. But you would think that they would have a ton of money. Like they're one of the most in terms of sports in general. I think Man U is one of the most popular teams around right now. Like I could go out and buy a Lakers jersey. I think about them in the same vein as even if they're good or not, I think about them in the same vein as the Lakers or as the Cowboys or as the New York Yankees. Like it's just a name. Anyway, the plan is in addition to 250 jobs removed from last year, the club said. They've been restructuring and cutting costs since British billionaire Jim Ratcliffe took a 25% stake last year and took charge of soccer operations to try to revive his fortunes on the pitch. On the pitch, little bit of footy. In September, the 20-time English champions reported its fifth straight annual loss as it missed out on the lucrative European Champions League competition. I would think that if they were playing well last year, again, I don't follow Man U, but if they were playing well last year, this wouldn't really matter. The restructuring plan includes to end free lunches for staff in the Old Trafford canteen to save more than £1 million, which is about $1.26 million a year. Some staff will move from Old Trafford to the new training facility at Carrington near Manchester, and all the club's leadership will be based in Manchester. The moving people to the training facility makes sense because you're trying to cut down. It's the same thing that happened at Warner Brothers. Instead of paying leases for 2 buildings, you're paying leases for 1. It's unfortunate because you're consolidating everything into one close thing, but one close space. I don't know what's going on, but if you hear a loud buzzing noise, that is from my end, and I'm trying not to let it happen, but I have to record an audiobook today, and I hope that stops because I'm almost done, and it is due in 3 days. And it's my fault. I could have been working on it the entire time. Executive bonuses will be paid at a reduced rate this year and then transition to a revised scheme based more firmly on the club's football and financial performance. The club's charitable donations will be focused on Manchester United Foundation and Manchester United Disabled Supporters Association, and is in talks with MUF and about the level of its contribution. We're going to be reducing the money, basically. I can't see that shares were up 0.5% on Monday for Man U. I can't see that this is something that their charitable donations is something you can write off. I assume if you are a big company like this, but I can't see them taking away free lunches is something to save money on. But then again, having people go to your cafeterias and pay for food is something that you can make back. But I don't know. I don't know how Manchester United works as a club. That is so annoying, and I can definitely see it in the waveforms. Let's continue on with the layoffs. Joy Reid was let go from MSNBC. They canceled her show. This comes from Wyatt Grantham Phillips. Okay. And she's also leaving MSNBC. Last night she appeared in the final episode of her show, which was airing on weeknights at 7 p.m. If you don't know who Joy Reid is, she hosted The Readout. She's probably one of the most prominent stars on MSNBC. It was an hour-long show, started at 7 p.m. She interviewed politicians and other newsmakers, blah, 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 that same thing. I saw a clip of her from the show last night, and she was wearing... This is something I would not do. If NBC Universal, if MSNBC canceled my show, I would not pop on with the NBC News sweater or a rain jacket or wherever she wore. I would be mad. I'd be mad as hell. I'd be talking so much trash. Also, additionally, two things I don't have linked here. Rachel Maddow came out and she was like, "That was a stupid decision." She went on her show and was like, "That's stupid. You should not have canceled that show." And then Jen Psaki, I believe her show is expanding from 2 days a week, or it's expanding. It's expanding from like 2 or 3 days a week to however many days per week it is. It's expanding. That's what I'm saying. The reports that happened, that MSNBC was canceling this show, The Readout, I'll say the name, happened over the weekend. It kind of just, we knew it was coming. Basically, I think like Saturday was when we heard. Saturday and Sunday was when it came up. In the coming weeks, rotating anchors will host Joy Reid's Hour. Simone Sanders, Townsend, Michael Steele, and Alicia Menendez, whose father, Bob, has been sentenced to jail for basically for taking money, I think, and bribes and all that stuff. Alicia Menendez, Steele, and Townsend currently serve as hosts of The Weekend, which is another MSNBC program, which is a roundtable panel show. Is going to move to weekdays. They're going to move to weekdays at 7 p.m. to host a new ensemble news program. I feel like this is they're trying to be in competition with Fox News because they have a lot of panel shows. And now we are at a point in 24-hour news when we have more names than there are hours in the day to host a live show. And when you look at let's look at Fox News. They have a morning show, they have an evening show that are both big panel shows. And those are the ones that people talk about the most. And then you have in between that, you have, your Sean Hannity's and your Lou Gossett Jr.'s. I don't know. The rest of those shows. And then for CNN, they have a morning show. They have 2 morning shows that are both panel style shows. They have midday shows that have multiple anchors, and then they have evening shows that are headlined by their I don't want to say A-list, but they're bigger names. That also I will include Wolf Blitzer when he was in that time period. It is so concerning that we are leaning on this. Not, I don't want to say talking head, but we're leaning on this idea that we need to have like that news can only be done by these bigger people, and because when you go back to your Walter Matthau and your I'll even say Johnny Carson and I know he's not a news personality, your Dick Cavett, but we didn't. Those were the people. Those are the people that existed during that time period when TV and news and late night, they were kind of nascent. I Love Lucy was, for all intents and purposes, yes, it's I Love Lucy starred Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, and then also we had the others. But the show was about Lucy. People came for Lucy because Lucy was funny. And extending this out to Fox News and then CNN and now MSNBC, to have all these panel shows, to have person A and person B and person C and person D all talking over each other, that does nothing, because they're more or less going to bring the same identities to the shows. The View is it's Whoopi Goldberg and Barbara. I don't know who else is on The View. It's Whoopi and Joy and Sunny and Sarah and Alyssa Farrah Griffin and Anna Navarro. And yes, they disagree sometimes, but all in all, they're just basically putting out the same product. And on Fox News, it's, if you're gonna have what is that, Fox 5? That is a channel. that is a local channel here. But like the 5, and then you have for CNN, you have what's Cassie Hunt's show? What is that called? Cassie Hunt, CNN show. What is that show? You have CNN This Morning, and you've got 12 people on that show, or Early Start, or wherever the heck it's called. It was Early Start. Now it's just CNN This Morning. When you have that, where's the identity? Jump ahead a couple of hours, you have Anderson Cooper hosting his show. On MSNBC, you have Rachel Maddow hosting her show. And I hate to say it, on Fox News, you have Sean Hannity hosting his show. Those are the voices. You have the voices set. You don't need to have 6 alphas in a room all displaying, all trying to peacock and all trying to basically do the same thing. That's what I'm getting at. Continuing off of that, Lester Holt is leaving MSNBC. Excuse me, is he leaving? I was talking about MSNBC. He's leaving NBC's nightly news. He's been there for 10 years. This comes from Variety, written by Brian Steinberg. Lester Holt. This is what I'm saying. Lester Holt was NBC News's nightly news anchor. He held that. After he's going to be devoting his full time to Dateline, which he's been holding on for a couple of years before the nightly news thing. But before that, Brian Williams, that's the people you trust. I cannot tell you how annoying this is. Also, what was I? I was going off on a tangent about news. CBS News, evening news, is changing back from its format of doing magazine stories to doing daily news now, which is insane. I think they should stick with this. And then also I saw that people were like, who are John Dickerson and who are Maurice Dubois? You people don't watch the news. You don't know. You got to know who these people are. We've seen a lot of senior TV news personnel leave in recent months, the news period, as the industry grapples with new economic pressures brought about by the rise of streaming and contends with a harsh climate for media outlets in the early days of the second Trump administration. Chuck Todd's gone. He left NBC News in January. Andrea Mitchell, the international affairs and politics reporter, ended her time at MSNBC. Hoda Kotb left basically due to money. We know Hoda left basically due to money. Chris Wallace left CNN. Neil Cavuto left Fox News. To me, from the outside looking in, it seems as though, especially seeing what happened with Hoda, it feels as though these networks, these big companies, they're seeing these big paychecks and they're going, we need to save money somehow, and we have to if it means lopping off the head of one of our A-list people, then that's what it's going to take. We know that CNN, in an effort to save money for Warner Brothers Discovery as a whole, David Zaslav, the WBD boss, and Mark Thompson, I was going to say Chris Thompson, Mark Thompson, the boss for CNN, they reduced the pay of their lead anchors, which is crazy to see. And so from the outside looking in, at this point, it's like, let's do it for cheaper and let's do it better. But you only have one of those. You can't do it well cheaper. I can't make an episode of I was gonna say a show that I don't know if I've talked about it here, but I used to do a news show called News Time, whatever. Anyway, but I can't make an episode of a news show and make it as good as an episode of the recent edition of CBS Evening News or NBC Nightly News or ABC World News Tonight or any CNN show or any MSNBC show. I think anything anything I poop out will be better than what's on Fox News. I was gonna say shit out, but I didn't say it because that's disgusting. It's where are we going to take the news delivery from this point? Because when you have Mark Thompson and David Zaslav letting go of one of their anchors because he's an outspoken person against the current president, and those people love the current president, how are we supposed to trust what's coming out from the news that we need to have multiple sources. We need to have different ways to watch news. I don't just read one website. I read multiple websites. IGN, GameSpot, Eurogamer. I just named video game stuff. The Verge, Engadget, CNET. All right, this next one comes from Shania Shelton, Tammy Luby, Josh Campbell, Ava McKinn, I know her, and Evan Perez, I know him as well. From CNN, federal employees told to justify jobs in an email or Musk says they face dismissal. Now, you've definitely heard this story. There was an email that was sent that said, the subject line reads, "What did you do last week?" And then it says, "Please reply to this email with approximately 5 bullets of what you accomplished last week and CC your manager. Please do not send any classified information, links, or attachment." The email came from the Office of Personnel Management's new HR email address, but it had no signature. Now, and then also Elon Musk said, failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. They sent it to several national security agencies like the FBI, CIA, blah, blah, blah. But several of those agencies and multiple other federal departments advised staffers not to respond to the email immediately, suggesting the broader executive branch was not informed of nor prepared for the demand. I'm going to say this, and I know the consequences of this. If Elon Musk sent me that fucking email, I would go to his house. I would slap I would slap him so hard. That is ridiculous. It is demeaning, and how dare you put on, especially like a deadline for Monday at 11:59 p.m. How dare you send that to people whose jobs you probably couldn't even comprehend? And I don't care. I don't care if you're a scientist. That is ridiculous. One president of a union chapter started getting texts from concerned members nonstop following Musk's posts and the OPM email. It sent shockwaves through federal workforce, already reeling from an array of orders where executive orders where Trump's administration has been just laying off people or forcing them to resign and then asking them to come back. I would be livid. And I would be like, I dare you to fire me. I dare you. Come down here and walk me out of the building yourself. Oh my gosh. I would truly. Oh my God. That's insane. There's been outrage from unions, anxiety for workers, blah, blah, blah. And this final one, I wish I could dig more into that, but there's no point. This final one comes from NBC News, written by Rob Weil and Steve Kopak. Apple boosts U.S. investment plans with $500 billion pledge amid Trump tariff threat. This is Tim Cook, Tim Apple, bowing down to the president, who does not respect him. Don't know why he's doing this, but Apple on Monday reaffirmed a commitment to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in the U.S. over the coming years amid pressure from President Donald Trump and the growing threat of his tariffs. The tech giant said it planned to spend $500 billion over the next 5 years in the United States with intentions to hire 20,000, new workers and produce AI servers. What this entails is they're going to build factories are probably going to start manufacturing some things in the U.S. I don't know what they manufacture in the U.S. What does Apple manufacture in the U.S.? What do they manufacture? They already manufacture silicon, which is their the chips inside the phones. The chips inside the phones. Like this is an M. Is this an M1? This is an M1 iPad. No, I have an M1 Mac. I don't know what the iPad is. The iPad's older than that. So they manufacture their chips here in America. They have 24 factories across 12 states, including Arizona. This is from Google's AI, Gemini, on Google. And they're linking to Apple's website. So this is all true. 24 factories across 12 states, including Arizona, Colorado, and Utah. Up there with those Mormons. The plans for what's coming up in this new $500 billion spending pledge include a server factory in Houston, slated to open in 2026, and a manufacturing academy in Detroit. The company also said data centers in Arizona, California, Iowa, Nevada, North Carolina, Oregon, and Washington would see expansions from the investment plans. So they're already building up. They're going to start using that money to build on top of what they already have in some cases. In 2021, they previously announced that they were going to invest $430 billion domestically over the next 5 years. So this isn't something that's new, but this is the repeated investment, the money that extra 70 that they're now doing is something that is the extra 500 million, but it's 70 more than what they did previously, because their 5 years will be up next year, and that Houston comes from part of that 430, that Houston thing in 2026. So this is just another double down on we believe in America. In 2018, during Trump's first term, Apple said it would make a $350 billion contribution to the American economy over the stretch of 5 years, including the creation of 20,000 jobs. When will we see the effects of this? I'm going to say, they could invest money into what they already have, including the expansions. They can already invest the expansions in the Arizona and California, blah blah blah. They could do that, and that could be happening now. But these 20,000 jobs, I can only see happening after 2026, 2027, because you have to have places to build on that. If they're going to be building a server farm for AI, for Apple Intelligence, then that would have to, yes, you could have a building, but then you have to build the servers to have it, and that takes time. Or to the servers that will be housed in it. And that's, hold on. I just read a quote from the president that I will not be reading. In a note to investors, analysts at UBS cast some doubt about whether Apple can actually deploy $500 billion in the U.S. in the time frame it laid out, citing the company's overwhelming reliance on suppliers outside the U.S. and the fact that it has historically lagged other large tech firms in making large capital expenditures. That makes sense. It's... Apple has, for what it is, for the company that is, it is a very consistent moneymaker. And even still, even if they can say we're taking $1 billion and we're investing it in Apple TV, we're gonna make content, and then next year they're like we're making $2 billion, and then the next year they're going we're taking back $1 billion. They're still gonna sell phones. They're still gonna sell laptops. They're still going to sell the desktops. And at some point, they're going to be introducing new things, like a new version of the TV. No car. They said no car. So I can see them doing the $500 billion, but it will be more time than what it is, because I don't know if we've seen the effects of what they did in 2018 with the 350, or what they even now, because even now the 430 in 2021, we're coming at the tail end, and that Houston data center is going to be built next, or going to open up next year. So where are these jobs going to be, and what will they entail? And you can have a manufacturing academy in Detroit, but what is that in the end? Why are they doing this? They're avoiding tariffs. The playbook appears to track closely with its strategy during the first Trump administration, when it allowed the president to take credit for a plant that had been making Mac computers in Texas for at least 3 years before he took office. Like other products Apple makes in the United States, or says it intends to, the Mac in Texas, made in Texas, is not one of its mainstream models. Really? See? Look at that. They're still going to be building iPhones with tiny little hands in China, unfortunately. We'll see about that. That's not, it's true. I'm laughing. Of course, we know Tim Cook was at Capitol Hill when Trump was sweared in, and also he was there alongside the other the tech holes who are bending a knee, and they donated to Trump's inauguration fund just to save their asses. I mean, it's just like seeing, like, Tiger Woods went to go play golf with him recently, and unbeknownst to Tiger Woods, he does not like you. You're a person of color, my man. He does not like you. Well, that's all the job stuff I have for you. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people sometimes. If you want to watch a video version of those talks, or of this show, or of the other podcasts, Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, and the Constitutionals, go to youtube.com, the Entertainment Business News Podcast. Go to youtube.com/C+Comedy. Subscribe to those shows wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky at C+Comedy. Follow me on those platforms at Chad Black White. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.